Welcome back to Driven to Live, where this week we have a very special guest, Alanis King. This week, our main topic: few designers in the car world have left such a lasting impact as Tom Matano. He's the man behind the Miata and other very famous designs that you know about. To help us unpack his impact, Alanis is going to speak to us about her experiences with him. She knew him well and has written about him and can kind of give us a window into the man behind the legend. So, welcome, Alanis. Thank you for being here.
Hello, you're gonna have to forgive me if I cry a little.
That's okay. That's all right. I think Tom made it very clear that cars and emotions should be combined. They should be intertwined. And I think we should just start off with, when you think about him as from a secular perspective, from a design perspective, kind of the 30,000 foot view that most people don't necessarily know about him. How would you describe him? How do you view him? That kind of thing.
So I think the general thing you're going to hear when you hear people talk about Tom and his career is you will hear people say that he is one of the fathers or the father of the MX-5 Miata, the NA, the first generation, and then he was lead of design on the FD RX7. So just imagine designing the NA Miata and the FD RX7. And that is pretty wild. So Tom was born October 7th of 1947 in Nagasaki in Japan, and he had this career all over the world. He was in Japan and America and Australia and everything like that. And he had this really emotional connection to creating a Mazda sports car and the Miata. And he wrote all of these incredible documents leading up to the introduction of the Miata about what an affordable normal sports car should be. And he had this amazing sentimental vision for the vehicle. And it's just really cool to read his writing and read all these plans he had. He planned out the Miata from before introduction through 1999. And every year that he planned out went exactly as he planned. When you talk to Mazda or when you see how Mazda interacted with Tom, whatever Tom said, that's what they were going to do, especially after he had such a huge legacy there. I mean, in the past year alone, I've seen Tom ask Mazda to do several things, and they're just like, dude, whatever you say. Yeah, we'll do it. You know, he wanted them to do a photo shoot of some cars, and they were like, yeah, dude, we're importing them right now, and we're going to take photos of them for you because that's what you want. And it's just really cool to see someone from an era where they were allowed to be really sentimental with product design and create something so beautiful and so lasting, because it really is hard to imagine now creating a new product that just lasts so many decades and has such a fan base around it like the Miata does. And when you see the Miata's fan base and when you see how much people love their Miatas, you see everything that Tom wanted for that car. From the time it was a thought in the 80s to now, you see everything that he wanted from that car. And he cared about it a lot. And he cared about it so much that I went and visited him a few weeks ago because he'd been in the hospital and I wanted to surprise him. So I went out there and I did not tell him that I was coming and I just showed up. And when he was out of the hospital, he had a desk set up in his garage so that he could hang out with his Miata. So the days that he was not getting treatments, he was sitting with his Miata. And so we sat with his Miata all day. And it's just amazing because when Tom planned the Miata, his original planning documents, he said, I want this to be a car that people bring into their family and it's part of their family. I want people to celebrate its birthday. I want them to say goodnight to it when they go to bed. And the fact that he lived that his entire life and he lived all of these examples, I'm editing some of his drafts right now that he wanted me to edit. And he talks about how this one woman he met, she lost her ability to drive her Miata when she was in her 80s because her eyesight got too bad. They couldn't fix it to where she could drive. And so she never sold it. She would, when it was a sunny day and when it was a nice day, she would back it out of her garage and she would sit in her Miata and read books. And Tom loved that. And Tom embodied what he envisioned for that car, and he cared about it so much. And that's what people would see from Tom from a career perspective. And I know Tom from a personal perspective, and there's just so much more to him. But from a career perspective, that's what people see, this person who put so much emotion and so much sentiment into a vehicle, and that vehicle became the epitome of emotion and sentiment, just like he planned. And I gotta wipe my face.
Well, that's awesome.
Oh,
That's exact, we're definitely going to get into the personal side of things, but
yeah,
I wanted the general listener who's never heard of him, who has, you
yeah.
know, no idea of the work that he did, to be able to see that. I feel like you mentioned him inspire or him sharing, what was it called? Inspired
Yeah, inspired sensations.
sensations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it that hit you hardest about those documents when you saw them?
So my favorite line from Tom is when he talks about saying goodnight to the car. So he's basically in these documents, he's talking about a Mazda brand vision. And he says, I want when people buy this car, a lot of car companies end the relationship when the customer buys the car and drives off the lot. And that's the end of the story. I want this person who buys a Mazda to take it to their house and show it to their neighbors and show it to their family and give them rides. And then when the day comes to a close after they've bought their car, I want them to feel so connected to it that they sit in it and that they say goodnight to it. And that every time I read that, I just remember Tom. And it's so special because I think about it and he's right. He's so right. Every time I look at my Miatas, I'm like, that's my Miata. That's I feel special to it. I say hi to it. And he talks in his documents about the fact that he wants people to look back when they have a car. When you leave it in a parking lot and you look back, he would tell me so many times if he had a friend who bought a car that didn't have a design he liked, he would ask them, do you look back at it when you park it? And he would tell me when he did that, his friends would sell the cars because they didn't look back at them. He said one guy, there was a specific car, and I'm not going to reveal Tom's hater personality, but there was a specific car, and he said, do you look back at that car when you park it? Because I know you don't. And the guy said, no. And then the guy sold it a couple months later. So, and it was a very expensive car. But that was Tom. He felt very strongly about the sentiment of vehicles and what vehicles should be. And for someone who had so much success and so much access to whatever car he wanted, at the end it was him and his Miata. And it always was him and his Miata from the beginning.
That's
I
awesome.
always love that. When I read that in your article, that really stuck with me because I did it with my cars. Even
Yeah.
even cars that left me stranded on the side of the road for the fifth time in 2 months. I get home eventually, like, you know what a bad day, real day. I always do that. All my cars do that. And that's how
Yeah.
when we test new cars, that's part of the review. It's like, wait, do I feel anything when I get out of this car? And there's a few of them where I forget I even drove. But there's still I'm glad there's still modern cars that still have that provoke that emotion. And I was talking to Steven about this. There's been a lot of great car designs, a lot of great cars that lasted decades, but very few cars like the MX-5 have stayed exactly what the original design intended to be. You have like the Corvette that changed eventually. Mustangs went through phases. They all went through a very eras. But MX-5 has always been what he wanted to be, which is just a small, fun, affordable sports car. And that in itself is a achievement to what he wanted.
Yeah, and in his original planning documents for the car, he said, be patient. Don't make changes for the sake of change. Keep this car what it is. And he planned out the entire trajectory of the car. And you can see when we talk about reports of the next Miata, everybody's like, oh no, what if they make the Miata electric? And they come back and they say, nah, y'all, it's gonna have stick. It's all gonna be fine. And it's just really great to see that 35 years later, they're still doing what Tom planned out because Tom knew what he was doing. And the thing about Tom is when I was at Tom's funeral over the weekend, there were very few people Tom's age there because Tom was a professor. And Tom would befriend people he worked with, he would befriend his students, he would befriend So many people. And there were some people Tom's age there, but a lot of the people there were ages 30 to 50. And that's because Tom was always about 25 years ahead of where he was supposed to be. Because as a designer, he said, when we're designing things, we have to design with the idea that this will still be good in 25 years. And so, unlike a lot of people Tom's age, Tom was 77. Tom was always on his phone. He was always on Instagram. He was always sending you stuff. He would interact and he would use the technologies that people 25 years, more than 25 years younger than him used. And he was so good at it. That is who he naturally connected with because Tom always looked 25 years forward and he was just very good at staying with where he needed to be technology wise and design wise. And you talk to people who knew him and worked with him and got taught by him, he was still just like extremely relevant, extremely forward looking the whole time. And you see a lot of people who are good in their day and stay where they were. Tom was someone who lived by what he said, and he was always ahead of the curve all the time.
That's awesome. That's I think the three of us especially know in the world of automotive executives, that's not really true very often. Even among designers,
Hmm.
that's pretty rare. Um, On to a more direct friendship question. How did
Yeah.
a turquoise F1 jacket and some old shoes spark a friendship as fast as it did?
So, when I first met Tom, I was at a Miata event, the Indy 3 Miata. And my friend Jake, he works for Mazda. He's a big Miata enthusiast. He said, "Hey guys, I'm inviting Tom Matano to dinner." And I'd never met Tom, so I didn't fully know Tom's personality. But when I'm in a group and someone new gets introduced to the group, I'm like, okay, how am I going to weave this person in? Because it's very important to just not leave someone hanging. It can be very difficult to join a new group where everybody knows each other and you don't know them. So I'm like, I am going to involve Tom in this whole thing. And he walks into this restaurant and he sits down and I'm like, oh, like he doesn't need my help. This guy, this guy can command attention and he's funny and he'll hold these conversations with this big group of people who already know each other. And he's so good at this. He doesn't need any help at all. So we get done with dinner and everyone does their normal thing, which you see when you disperse a group, they just go into their little cliques of like two or three people, right? And that's what everyone does. And I'm like, I'm hanging out with Tom. So everybody disperses into their little groups of two or three people, and my group is going to be Tom. So we're at this ice cream shop, and I walk up to him and I start talking to him about ice cream. And he starts talking to me about ice cream. And we go outside and we sit down at this table, and he goes, "You're wearing a Leighton House Formula One jacket." And Leighton House Formula One was this team and sponsor existed in the late 80s and early 90s. And everything fell apart because the guy over Leighton House was taking out a lot of bad loans in Japan. And so everything fell apart and it all disappeared. But Leighton House was a brand and a fashion retailer and everything like this. So they made a lot of Leighton House merchandise for the racing team. So I buy a lot of vintage Leighton House racing merchandise because I like failed teams. And so I tell Tom this, and he goes, "I was watching them." And you know who they are. No one knows who they are. And I was like, yeah, dude, I like that stuff. And then we just started talking about all kinds of stuff. He was like, I have this one watch I really like. And so I bought like a million of them because if one breaks, I just need to wear my same watch. And I was like, dude, I've had these shoes since I was in eighth grade. And it's been like, I don't know, 15 years, maybe something like that. And I glue them back together. No, more than 50 years, like 17 years. And I glue them back together all the time. I glue the soles back on them. And everyone I went to middle school with tells me to throw them away. And I go, no, I don't want to. And so we bond over this stuff, right? And we're just having the best time. We're laughing all night. And we see each other again at this car show on Sunday and we talk there and we exchange email and phone number and everything like that. And sometimes when you exchange contact information with people, you talk occasionally or you don't talk much at all. Tom loved to talk. Tom loved to be friends. So I immediately get an email from Tom. He sends me all these 1980s planning documents for the Miata. And he's like, here, you can read this on your flight home. And then Tom's texting me and he's Instagram DMing me. And we are just becoming such fast friends. We talk all the time. So when I go to San Francisco, who do I call? Tom. I'm like, Tom, let's hang out. Let's do our thing. And so one story that I really like to tell about Tom that I told over the weekend at his memorial was that we were hanging out one time in San Francisco. We were at a really fancy hotel. And he tells me this story about how he got invited by Bill Clinton to the White House. And he said, I went to the White House and I didn't want to buy a souvenir because I'm cheap, but I wanted to send something back to family and friends. So he went to the bathroom and he's washing his hands and he looks at this stack of paper towels and they all have fancy presidential seals on them. And he's like, that's it. So he takes the whole stack and he stuffs them in his pocket. And he goes back out and he does whatever he needs to do at the White House because he's personally invited by the president. And he's like, I'm gonna go get some more. So he goes back to the bathroom and they've restocked the towels and he takes another stack of towels. And so after he tells this story, he gets up and he walks away. I'm like, Tom, where did you go? Why did you just walk away? You didn't even say you were going anywhere. So I'm like, well, I guess he's in the bathroom. He comes back because we're at this really fancy hotel with a stack of really fancy hotel paper towels and starts passing them out because he wanted to put a punchline on his story. And it was the funniest thing in the world. And so I told this at his memorial, and his wife and his brother were there, and they were in the front row. And every time people went up to tell a story, because tons of people went up to the stand to tell a story about Tom, they would react to every single sentence. If you said something funny, they were laughing. If you said something sad, they were crying. Like they were just so happy to hear all of these stories about Tom and how he impacted people. So after everyone got done speaking, I went and I talked to his wife, and she said, I still have one of the presidential paper towels. And I was like, I'm so glad you liked that story. I'm so glad you liked that story. And we were there and I was talking to her and we were just talking about being sad about Tom. And I said, yeah, I mean, I think about him all the time. I cry like a million times a day. I'm crying right now. And she said, when you get sad, just look up at the sky and remember that Tom is driving up there in his Miata. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, thank you. It was really, really sweet. So I have tons of stories about Tom. He was so goofy. I mean, he loved Italian food. He loved
I was
Hallmark
just gonna
movies.
I was just gonna
Like,
ask what the towel prank tells us all about his sense of humor.
oh my gosh, he was so funny. He was always telling jokes. He scanned every document he like that was ever important to his life. He scanned
Yeah,
every
you wrote
photo.
about this, right? I feel like that was in
Yeah.
the article. Yeah.
Yeah, so he has a scan, and I may have it because I have a bunch of his documents. I have like 30 gigs of Tom on an SD card. And so, yeah, I have a bunch of
You
his like
gotta
photos.
write the book now, Alanis. You gotta write the book.
I am. I am. I'm working on it. And so
Good.
I have like 30 gigs of Tom and I know it's going to be in there somewhere. I just haven't found it yet. But he has this photocopy of the print letter he got in 2006 from some guy who sent a bunch of designers blackmail. And this guy said, I am the true designer of this car.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he got all of their information. All these designers, he was sending them like their bank information and stuff. And he was like, send me money. And so Tom said he was asking this Aston Martin designer for 200K. And he only asked me for 25 because it was in relation to the value of the car. And Tom was like, aren't I worth more than $25,000? And I was like, yeah, Tom, you are. And then he clicked to this other photo, which I have found, where he'd hurt his back one time. And so Tom was super cheap, which made no sense because he didn't need to be super cheap. He was super cheap. So when he hurt his back, he got some straps and he got a 2x4 and he strapped a 2x4 to his back to straighten out his back. And he goes, that's the best sleep I ever got. And I'm like, Tom, Tom, you got to be kidding me. Are you serious? And it just shows how technology forward he is because he did this before smartphones. So he has a photo in his bathroom mirror holding up a mirror so he can see the framing and taking a photo with a digital camera of his two
Mm,
by four on his back.
yeah.
And
Well,
I'm like,
the alignment is key on 2x4 spine straighteners. Okay, you got to get it just right, otherwise it's not going to work.
and what's so funny about Tom is everyone knows Tom as this visionary and he created the greatest car in all of history. And I know Tom as that too. But I also know Tom as the biggest goof I've ever met because he's the biggest goof I have ever met. That man is such a goofball. I adore him. I mean, he loved Hallmark movies. So my friend Renee got a tablet and loaded the Hallmark channel on it and took it to him. And she handed it to him. He opens the tablet, clicks the first movie he sees on the front page, and locks in because it
Yeah,
doesn't
he's like,
matter.
here we go.
It doesn't matter what the Hallmark movie is. He just wants to lock in on a Hallmark movie. So he would commentate the Hallmark movies because his thing about Hallmark movies was he loved that at the end, you get a feel good, happy cry. And he would always say, this is when this is going to happen. This is when this is going to happen. This is when the twist happens. This is when it ends. And so Renee took him that tablet, and that's exactly what he did. He commented the timestamps where this stuff is going to happen. And I was telling one of his loved ones about this, and she goes, he would always commentate. He would always say 15 minutes before the end, that's when the twist is going to happen. And I said, you said that before I got the chance to say that because that's exactly what he did when she brought him the tablet. And he was so happy. And my friend said it was a really bad movie. And Tom just loved it. And I'm like, that's so Tom. That's so him. He was just the silliest guy, man. And I miss him so much. We text all the time. I have to resist the urge to text him because I get the urge to text him every day. And I can't text him anymore. And yeah, we talked constantly. I adored Tom so much.
How did I mean, like, I remember you writing something about the way he would end conversations, like "love you, bye."
Hmm.
It's you know that's pretty rare.
Hmm.
That's not something most people experience with the average individual, probably even like family.
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, has your relationship with him or your experiences with him kind of changed the way that you think about relationships?
Yeah, and I think I was already heading in this direction, so I think he just improved that. But it really makes you think and it really makes you get very existential about your relationships and go, why do we overthink everything? Why do we think that everything matters? I I would talk to Tom on the phone all the time. We hadn't known each other very long. We'd only known each other a few months. And he would hang up and he'd be like, okay, love you, bye. And I'm like, this is the man who invented the Miata. And he hangs up the phone with me by saying, okay, love you, bye. And I'm just like, that is so nice. And that makes me so happy. And it just deepens our relationship to the point that we talk all the time. And why not be there? We always make so many excuses for why we shouldn't be there for people or why we can't go do something. And I now try to look at things as not making excuses about why I can't go, but saying, I'm gonna go. Is there anything that's gonna forcefully stop me? So, for example, when Tom was in the hospital, Tom didn't like to tell people when things weren't super great. So he told me pretty late about one of his hospital stays. He was like, "Oh yeah, I've been in the hospital," and I go, "Tom, is it serious?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, but I'm gonna be out in a minute." And I was like, "Oh God, Tom, okay." And so when he said that, I knew he was getting out in a couple of days. So that night, I booked a flight to San Francisco to go see him. And instead of saying, "Oh, I have so much stuff to do. Oh, I have this, I have that. I can't go do that." I said, "Tom would love if one of his friends went out there and surprised him." And tons of people went out to see Tom. And he would love if I went out there and surprised him. So I did not make an excuse for why I couldn't do that. I have a couple of friends hosting events in the next couple of months, and they're out of state. I'm going to have to fly to those things. It's inconvenient, but it's not inconvenient because it means a lot to them. So instead of looking at things as why can't I do this or why is this inconvenient, I am trying to look at them as what does this mean to that person? And I went to see Tom and he was so happy when he saw me. He couldn't believe it. He was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "I'm coming to check on you, dude." And I heard from several of his family members in the past week or so, and they said, Tom would talk about you at like family holidays and events and stuff like that. Like, Tom really, 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 really liked you. And I didn't know that. And so it just added so much more depth to the fact that I went to see him because I knew it meant a lot to him and it meant a lot to me. And we had the best time. But I think it meant more to him than I realized at the time. And so that's what I try to look at these things like. Like, I'm going to go to my friends' events or parties or celebrations or whatever, even if they're away from here, even if they're out of state, even if it's what would be considered inconvenient, because what does that mean to them? And if it's no sweat off my back, what does it matter? I'm going to call people, I'm going to text them, I'm going to send them well wishes. They don't have to respond. It doesn't matter. It's not
Yeah.
difficult for me to care. And hopefully they appreciate the care, even if they're not in the place that I am where they can do this stuff. And everybody at Tom's memorial said, it just seemed like Tom had more hours in the day than all of us because for some reason he had so much time to talk to all of us and still do all of the stuff he did and accomplish all the things he did. And so I try to go, how can I seem like I have more hours in the day? And that is by not just making excuses for why I can't do things or why I can't respond or why I can't be there for people. It's going and being there for people and making them feel special. And that's kind of how I felt.
Well, you're killing it. I mean,
I'm trying.
we're grateful to have you here, and that's a great perspective to have. I think not enough people have that. Like, none of us are promised tomorrow,
Hmm.
and a lot of us say that, but do we follow through on that, right?
Exactly.
Like you said, it's so easy to get wrapped up in like, yeah, but what if this feels weird to them, or what if they
Hmm.
don't write me back, or blah blah blah. We, like you said, we come up with excuses.
Hmm.
And in the end, everybody loses for that.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, great. Great.
That's ex
I'm
yeah.
sure he would be proud of that answer.
I miss him a lot. I
I
miss him all day, every day. I miss him so much. And he would always go out of his way to reach out to me. I remember I filmed a video with the 35AE Miata in January. And I purposely matched my outfit to the car. So I wore a maroon dress and a maroon jacket and I color blocked them to match the car. And as soon as he saw that outfit, he sent me a text and he said, "It's perfect. It matches so perfectly. It looks so good." And I'm like, "Tom, thank you." Like, thank you. And he would just always pay attention to the things you did and it mattered a lot. And, one of his family members reached out and said, we were at a family event and you came up. And I said, "Oh, Tom, I actually know her. I follow her YouTube channel and I watch her stuff. I watch her stuff." And he said, "It was like someone discovering that you knew the same niche band." And I told him I knew all about you. And Tom still told me everything he knew about you. And he said, "You were so smart and you knew so much about automotive history and you knew so much about motorsports history." And he just thought you were the coolest. And I'm like, wow, because like I thought Tom was the coolest. I thought Tom was the coolest.
You both
And
are really cool.
thank you. I miss him so deeply. And it's very funny because Tom and I talked all the time, but we didn't post online about each other all the time. We just talked all the time. So after he passed, people were like, I didn't know you were so close to Tom. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea. You have no idea. We talked all the time. And it's hard. It's really, really hard because I think a lot of people don't understand and they can't fathom someone who I'm 29, Tom was 77. What do you two have in common? And it's like, dude, you have no idea everything. Me and Tom had everything in common. We talked all the time, and he was such a close friend. And it really hits hard. You know, it really hits hard to lose a very close friend is very difficult. But all I can do is be there for other people who really cared about him, be there for his family, be there for everyone, and do what I can logistically and emotionally for all of them. And that's what I want to do because Tom would be like, why are you crying so much about me? And I would go, Tom, it's because you're special. That's why. But Tom was very much like, you came all the way out here for me. And I'm like, yes, yes, don't devalue how special you are to me. And
It
so
sounds
he
like
would
a.
he would giggle if he knew how much I was crying. He would go, "Oh, that's so silly."
I was gonna ask you what he would think of you, saying and feeling the way that you do. Beyond the MX-5 and the
Yeah.
RX-7, what do you think he would want to be remembered for? Beyond the car stuff.
You know, I think the thing about Tom is I never knew Tom to be egotistical at all.
I was gonna
And
say he sounds wildly humble.
he just was not egotistical at all. And I don't think that Tom necessarily cares to be remembered for a wide variety of things. What Tom cared about most was being with his Miata, and he cared about people liking their Miatas. That's what he cared about. He was just like, this thing is so special to me, and I hope it's special to you. And that's what Tom cared about. And I talked to him, I don't know, a week and a half ago, and he said, I could have designed so many more cars if I wasn't such a procrastinator. Tom loved to say little things like that. And I said, Tom, you designed two of the greatest cars in history. And he goes, "Oh, I know, but I could have done more." And I'm like, "Tom, Tom, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is you designed two things that will live throughout human history and be known as two of the greatest things in their segment forever." And he's like,
Yep.
"Oh, I know, but
Yeah, it would be more. That's so. And last episode we talked about with Steven. It's like it's very cool because a car designer
Mhm,
has can design a car that can be in music, movies. People write songs about them. They can be in photo shoots. It becomes an accessory piece.
mhm,
I can't imagine for him to create a car and then it lives on not just for a hobbyist for car nerds like us, but like everything.
mhm,
Like it could be start it stars in movies. It's a meme. It could be anything.
mhm,
That must have been so cool. I can't wrap my head around that kind of
mhm.
achievement.
And he was so happy. Like it wasn't the achievement that mattered. It was the fact that he was so glad that people loved that car. He was so happy that people love that car. And one of his most recent students got up and spoke at the memorial. And the student said that he would always send Tom Miata memes. And Tom was like, "Why do you always send me Miata memes?" And the student said, "It's the consequences of your actions." Tom was just like, "Oh, okay." He was just so funny. He was hilarious all the time. And it's just amazing that of all the things he accomplished, the things I want people to remember are about his personality and who he was because he created the most amazing car that I will ever drive and I will ever own. I can own a lot of very expensive, amazing cars if my career goes to a place where I can do that. But there's never going to be anything like the Miata. And that's Tom. And it makes me sad, but it also makes me really happy to go drive my car because you think about it and you're not going to be able to drive any kind of car forever. You know, either your body is going to go, your mind is going to go, or you're going to go. You know, it's just you don't get to do these things
Inevitable.
forever. It's
Yeah.
inevitable, right? And so I go and I get in my Miata and I put the top down, even if it's 100 degrees outside, and I just enjoy it. And when I'm at a stoplight, I just rest my hand on the shifter and it's direct mounted shifter. So it just
Right.
buzzes under your hand. And I just go, wow, this is so nice. This is so special to me. And this was so special to Tom. And I wish I could call Tom. I wish I could talk to him, but every time I feel like that, I just imagine Tom is right here and how he would go, "Oh, you're making such a big deal about me." And then I laugh and then I'm good. But I just remember him for what he was, which was very funny and very fun to be around.
Sounds like a loving, humble, um, passionate person.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. He
Fun
really
too,
was.
just fun.
Very fun. When I saw his cars on Sunday, oh my gosh, I just lost it. I was like, oh, he
Mm.
just loved those cars. He just loved that Miata. He loved that RX-7. And I love him too. I love him so much, you know?
How did how did things or did they potentially? When did you get your MX-5?
So I've had my red car since 2020. And then I have so my red car has 140,000 miles on it. It's got a check engine light. I check the engine all the time. It seems fine. It's there.
There?
Um, it's there. And so that's 140,000 miles. And then I have my gray one. They're both 2004 Mazda speeds. And my gray one, my husband's grandfather bought new in late 2003. It has 23,000 miles on it. It's perfect. And last year we took it up to our partner XPEL. They partner with our YouTube channel and they make paint protection film and ceramic coating and they're wonderful. And so they said we want to put paint protection film on your Miata and because it's perfect. Like there's not a single scratch or there's not a single piece of fabric out of place. And when they told the local shop that they wanted to do it, well, local, it's 2 hours away. But when they said, hey, we have this 2004 Miata coming in, the shop was like, oh no. Because if a 2004 Miata is coming in, it could go a lot of directions, right?
Gonna
And
be a
we
long day.
It'll be a long day. And we brought it in and they were like, this is perfect. It's beautiful. Like this looks like it's directly from the shop. Like it looks from like not the shop, the showroom floor. Like it looks perfect. And we're like, yeah. So they put PPF and ceramic coating on it and it glistens. And it's so soft to the touch because the ceramic coating makes it so soft and it's beautiful. It's fantastic. It's perfectly stock. And it's a little scarier to drive because it's so perfect. But the red one makes a lot of funny noises. It's got a blow off valve. It's got all that.
Oh yeah.
And I drive it as often as I can when I'm not driving cars for work or anything like that or for YouTube reviews. And I just think about how cool it would be to just appreciate this car and how cool it would be to have Tom with me and have him appreciate my car as well, you know? And I would send him photos of my Miata. Like 2 weeks ago, I sent him a photo of my red car and I said I always look back at it when I park it. And it was a photo of me turning back around and looking at it. And he was so happy. And yeah, I've had the gray car for a couple of years. I've had the red car for 5, and they're beautiful. They're the exact same car twice. And I love them.
How has your perspective changed from before you knew Tom to after you knew Tom about your car or cars, really?
You know, I always had this deep connection to the Miata, and it's been a family car. My mom's always had a Miata. And you see the groups and the clubs and how deep of a culture it is. And I think knowing Tom and reading all the things he wrote, like I'm working through the draft he gave me right now that he wanted me to edit and publish. And reading all the things that he wrote about that car, it wouldn't have been it wouldn't have been the same, and it the Miata wouldn't exist in its current form without the amount of thought and love he put into that car. And it also weaves together a lot of the things that you see but don't necessarily put the pieces together on. Like you can look at Miatas and see that the culture is Miata is the answer. Everybody has a Miata. We all love our Miatas. Miata, 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 Miata. And then reading the planning and reading the sentimental approach to the car, it really weaves together that this was the idea from the beginning and that this
Mm.
was Tom's plan and this is what he wanted from that car. And him pushing so hard for that is what allowed us to have thriving cultures and communities and friendships around that car. And it weaves everything together, and it feels so special. And I think of all of my friendships I have because of Miatas, and I think of my friendship with Tom, and I think about how much he would love that and how happy it would make him. And that to me is really, really cool.
It
Yeah,
is.
I get. Go ahead, Jesus.
No, I'm just thinking. I mean, I've driven a lot of Miatas for precedents and that kind of stuff, but I don't own one. The
Hmm.
only close thing I have to a Miata is a 2013 Mazda 3 with a manual that I
Hmm.
bought new. Love it. 140,000 miles. Never give me a single problem. Love that car. So I'm happy that you got to not only experience the car and love it, and then meet the man who designed it and become friends with him. I mean, that's super rare in itself. It's like me meeting the person who designed the Crown Vic and be like become buddies with him. So I'm very happy that you got to, even though it was brief, you guys,
Hmm.
because the way you talk about it, it's like you could have told me, oh, we've been friends for 10 years. I would have believed you, just the way you guys talk about it. When I read your article, oh, 2024, I was like, really? That surprised me. I thought you guys been like went way back.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
that was Tom, you know? And I was saying when I was at his memorial, there were a lot of people there who had known him for a long time. And I was like, man, I wish I could have known Tom for 20 years. And they would go, you knew everything about him, you know? Tom was always the same. Tom never changed. And so while you can wish that you had more time with him, you knew that man so deeply. You knew him to his core. And it's just so special because I didn't become friends with Tom or force a friendship with Tom because I liked what he made. Tom was the kind of person who wanted friendships and who wanted to have connections because, in my opinion and in my approach, I don't want to burden or overwhelm someone because I'm a fan of their work, you know? So, if anything, I took a more cautious approach to being Tom's friend to not bother him. And then I realized, oh, this dude texts me every other day. We're good. We're good.
He's locked into this friendship. Yeah.
He's locked into this friendship. And it was just, it was so cool to be so close to someone so quickly. And, you know, I feel like I'm so deep into Tom's life. I mean, I just got off the phone with one of his family members because I was calling and checking in. I was saying, "Hey, how are things going? How do you feel?" You know, and I was so deep in Tom's life so quickly, and that was so special. And it was because of him, and it was because of his pursuit of friendship. And I just think of how special that is because Tom got the chance to do all of these amazing things and meet all of these amazing people. And when you get to do that, there is the opportunity to become kind of a bad person
Yeah. You're
because
right.
you have everything at your fingertips. You're not wanting for anything. You meet all the coolest people, you do all the coolest things, and you can become entitled and selfish and difficult. But there are some people who have access to all of these amazing things. And at the end of the day, they still buy the same watch again and again and again. And they still just go and sit in the garage with their Miata. And that's all that matters to them. And that's what I try to do. I try to think about it when I go on the coolest events and I drive the coolest cars. I go, today I'm going to think of how amazing this is and how cool it is I get to do this, not what is upsetting me about this. Because when you start to think in negative ways and think in entitled ways, you become a worse person by having access to these cool things. And you have to remember that being a good person and being there for people and just being happy and grateful that you get to do these things, that's special. And Tom was always so happy and he was always so grateful and he always cared about people. He didn't like look past them or anything like that. And I see it happen with a lot of people who have access to cool stuff and have a lot of notoriety. I just go, ah, you know,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
and that's
I think
hard.
I think we do.
Yeah, and it's easy to get that way. What's hard to do is to be like Tom and to be so pure and so fun and so great and have this entire room of people just sing your praises because you're the best and you're so much fun. And Tom would go, "Oh my gosh. Oh, you're being too nice to me. Oh, stop. Stop. You're doing all this for me." And that's just how Tom was. He was the best.
Yeah, he certainly sounds like it.
Yeah.
Uh, we could talk about a million different car topics, but I think we should just leave this whole thing focused on Tom because I feel
Yeah.
like he set a great example for all of us,
Yeah.
whether
Yeah.
that be in secular pursuits, but probably more so in just the way to live life and appreciate life and to live a life of love and humility and engagement and fun and um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. Totally
Uh,
awesome. Hey, Seuss, you got any comments there?
I was just gonna say like there's nothing better, especially like because we see it a lot of time because in our world, there's nothing better than a great talented artist who's humble, doesn't have an ego.
yeah.
It's like you said, it's very easy when success hits you and it hits you when you're up like a rocket ship. It's very easy for it to get sucked in and go up straight to your head and becomes a different kind of person. We've seen it happen to a bunch of people, and historically, it keeps repeating itself. So when you see someone who can do something amazing and continues to live the way life they want to live, and it doesn't affect them in that capacity,
Mm,
that's really cool. That shows a lot of tenacity about their character.
yeah. I totally agree.
So
Well, it's clear that you're living what Tom taught you, Alanis, and we couldn't be more grateful to have you here and spend some time with us and tell the few viewers we have where to find your stuff and yeah, what you're up to.
So I make a lot of YouTube videos. Make a whole lot of YouTube videos. If you want to
High
learn more.
quality color blocked ones, everybody.
If you want to learn more about Tom, I posted a video of him about a week ago, and I just talked about who he was and everything like that. And there are some details that I didn't mention in there, and I will mention at a later date because I'm writing more eloquent things about him. But so I have this YouTube channel and we post every week on Thursdays. It's just me and my husband. My husband does the most beautiful videography I have ever seen. He just sat up because he hears me talking about him. I heard the couch creak. He does the most beautiful videography and it just looks so good. And we share editing duties. So he taught me how to edit very complex videos. And I have this like 6-page instruction sheet that I took from his notes. And so when I get confused, I go to my 6-page instruction sheet on
Refer to the
how
sheet.
refer to the sheet exactly. And so now I edit about half the videos and he edits about half the videos. We do really beautiful classical music, high quality car reviews, and I'm just so proud of how they turn out. And so that's on my YouTube channel. It's my name, Alanis King. And then all of my social media is Alanis N King because a guy named Alan took my handle, Alanis King, in like 2008 or 9 before I got it because it's Alan is King. And I've
What a
realized,
loser.
well, I get a lot of
The
important
opposite of humble. The opposite
well,
of humble,
that's the
everybody.
thing, Alan. Like, come on. And so Alan gets a lot of my important emails. I will always tell everyone in the middle, and I'll capitalize it, and they still send it to Alan. HR departments send him my information all the time. And I'm like, guys, like Alan knows my social security number at this point. Like, y'all have to stop sending him all of my personal information. And so, Alan, thank you for not stealing my identity yet.
Watch Alan is actually the king of like Denmark or something.
It's possible. I mean, thank you for not stealing my identity yet. Thank you for not taking my 401k, Alan. I really appreciate it because you have all my information. So it's Alanis N. King on everything. And if you're gonna email me and you email Alan, I'm sorry. I mean, I've seen people talk on Reddit about how they've sent me emails and I didn't respond. And I'm like, bro, you probably sent it to Alan. I'm sorry. Like Alan doesn't respond to me either. I ask him if he can forward me my emails and he never does. So I'm sorry. I'm not a hater. I would have responded to you.
That's rude to respond to you. It's like you would think you would have been like, hey, who are you and why am I getting all these emails addressed to this person?
It's so weird that he hasn't thought to reach out. I mean, he has all my personal information. Then again, I mean, Alan, I hope you're out there. I hope you're alive. I hope you're well, bud. Please send me my emails.
Or let me buy your email address.
Exactly, exactly. But it's Alanis and King on everywhere except for YouTube because Alan was not an aspiring YouTube star. So I got Alan is King there.
Uh, again, thank you for being here. This has been
Of course.
awesome.
Of course.
Uh, Grateful to have you and to be able to spend some time talking about Mr. Matano. What a great guy.
Likewise.
Um, got any closing words for us, Jesus? You're the wise one.
You're the old one. I mean, just be wiser.
I am the old one. That doesn't mean anything.
No, I mean, thank you, Alanis, and from both Steve and I, our condolences. We're lost.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We don't see that a lot. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us. I know you're always busy on different trips. So even though you're also from Texas, so it's like me, but in Texas, it's like, oh, you're only 3 hours away. Yeah, it's still way too far.
Jesus makes a good point. We should just point out to everybody in the audience, Alanis has been following Tom's example for a long time. The only reason that Alanis is so cool to hang out with us is that she made us feel cool in groups on these trips before.
Yeah.
And
guys,
has been kind.
It's a real crying
caring.
week. You're gonna make me cry.
Hey, that's all right. Hey, you're gonna cry less this week, I imagine. And it's a good cry, right? Like we genuinely are grateful, and we care about you, and like the impact Tom has had is, I mean, really tough to put into words. Period. So, good luck with that.
Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for being friends. Thank you for inviting me on. I hope to see you both soon. And thank you for listening to me cry a little bit. And thank you everyone for listening to me cry a little bit. It means a lot, Sometimes you just have to cry while you're talking.
Well, we appreciate it, you being here and everybody listening. Go be a little bit more like Tom this week.
Yeah.